Hello, church family, it's Chaney here, and today I'd like to share a devotional from Matthew chapter 6, verse 19 to 21. And it reads, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." It's been already just over 2 months since the lockdown was issued in the UK due to coronavirus, and I think one thing that coronavirus has done is to make us think a lot more seriously about life and death and how real these two things are. I think this is even more so the case for younger people who otherwise really wouldn't have too much to worry about in general in terms of their health. But we see that younger people can also become very, very unwell, and so I think this really brings to the forefront how real life and death is. And when it comes to things like life and death, I think it helps us to really focus on what our priorities are in life. We hear stories of people who maybe after a cancer diagnosis or perhaps a life-changing event where their priorities radically change. And I think certainly that's what happens when we're faced with our own mortality and the fact that we will not live forever. And so I think this verse, it focuses on really about our life priorities. And perhaps maybe you may have been thinking about these things during this coronavirus period, whether you might be working either on the front lines or whether you're isolating at home or perhaps working from home as well or whatnot. But it says in verse 21, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And so that's the question I'd like to ask myself and ask ourselves, especially during these times where I think these sort of questions become maybe a little bit more clear and maybe brought a little bit closer to the forefront to our minds, where before we might not have given too much thought about life and death, but we're so busy with carrying on with our lives, carrying on with our day-to-day and just getting through. But where is our treasure? Is our treasure in this world? Is it in worldly possessions or in our careers or in what we do? Or is it in heaven? Is our hope of heaven something that we actually think of as important? Because I think a lot of times we don't really think about what happens after we die, and we lose focus of maybe the big perspective and the bigger picture. So I think that's one thing I'd like for us to just have a think about. What are my priorities in life? Are my priorities purely for this world, or do they focus on things that are beyond it? So hopefully this will be an opportunity for us to consider our priorities in life. Do they have God in them at all? Do they have the church in them at all? These are sometimes hard questions that maybe we need to examine ourselves quite carefully and a little bit more deeply than maybe we might think about our lives. but maybe coronavirus can be a teacher as well, in terms of focusing our minds and clarifying what's important in the big scheme of things. So let's place our treasure in heaven, and let's place our hearts in heaven, and focus our priorities on God and what is eternal, for those are the things that truly last. So, God bless.